Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dברו. I hope I am not misinterpreting something that I really don't know much about, that is about the Tanya, which is like the most important work for Chabad, for the Lubavitch movement. This is a work of the first Rebbe. He wrote a very important treatise. He also wrote a Shulchan Aruch. In other words, not a different Shulchan Aruch, but some variations of the Shulchan Aruch that we have. And Lubavitch guides themselves by the Shulchan Aruch of the Rav. He was a disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, of the founder of the Hasidic movement. But as we know, Chabad is all over the world, and they do a great missionary work among the Jewish people. They don't look for converts from other people. They try to make Jews more observant, to love more their own tradition. You see sometimes mitzvah tanks with asking you to put on tefillin if you haven't done so today. And I remember on one occasion that a person cried. He was an elderly gentleman. He was totally irreligious. But he cried because it was the second time in his life that he had put on tefillin. The first time was when he was bar mitzvah, and now he was in his 70s, and he was putting on tefillin again. It meant something to him. Maybe an activity. They do a tremendous job. You go any place in the world, you find kosher food because they go to the most remote place in the world and try to establish a center for bringing Jews back to Judaism, and I think they have to be applauded. Now, I hope I don't misinterpret the Tanya. The Tanya says something about the soul, that we have an ingredient that is really animal-like, but we also have something human in our soul. But there's one thing that always impressed me. They said that the Rebbe, the leader of the Hasidic movement that they follow, he has a perfect soul. In other words, he doesn't know what temptation is. The Rebbe doesn't act because he decides, this is the good thing to do, this is the bad. His life is all good. He doesn't have any alternatives. Okay, this is what they believe. I personally am inclined to something different. I remember, I think I read once an essay by the late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, I think, and others, And this is also said, there is a symbol, a musical symbol by which you read the Torah called shalshelet, which is an undulation. It makes you stay a long time on a particular word, singing that particular word. And shalshelet appears several times in the Torah. Not too many, several times. One of them, for instance, is when the wife of Potiphar tries to seduce Joseph. So it says suddenly, Vayit Mahama. Vayit Mahama means sort of he doubted, and that has that shalshelet, the word takes up more space musically than the rest of the sentence, to indicate maybe, an inner struggle. In the case of Joseph, he didn't know what to do. On the one hand, he's a man, he has certain sexual desires, and here's a woman, probably a beautiful woman also, offering herself to him. And on the other hand, he has certain moral reservations. And he says, so this is the wife of my master, the one that gives me work. And the Torah says something, the Midrash says something very interesting. At that time, Demut di yukna de Abba. He felt the presence, the form of his father. His father is standing in front of him. How is he going to do something like that? After all he learned at home, can he do something like that? Not really, And actually, he refuses, and this is why he ends up in jail, because she accused him, whatever. I don't want to go into this story, but what I want to delve on is the fact that he doubted for a moment what to do, but he decided the right thing to do, and that's it. But the Rebbe has no such problem. The Rebbe, if the wife of Potiphar would tell the Rebbe, he would say no, and that's it. There is no shalshelet, there is no doubt, because he has a perfect soul. I am inclined rather for the souls that are imperfect, because most of us have imperfect souls. We all have to face certain temptations in this world. You have to come to a decision. Sometimes it is in the moment you don't know exactly what to do, and you react maybe instinctively. You don't have sufficient time to reason it out what you're going to do. Sometimes you do, and you should come, of course, to the right decision. I want to accentuate one particular thing. We live in a society where children don't always respect their parents the way they should. They contradict them and whatnot. I belong to a different generation. I would never have dared to contradict my father. According to Jewish tradition, you can't sit in a seat at the table. There's a certain respect that you have for your father, but we're losing that, I think, in our generation, maybe also because technology is advancing so fast that each generation knows more than the previous one, much more. You want to know how to use an iPad? You take a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, he immediately knows what to do. A 6-year-old is a genius at it, what some of us can't manage after hours of working. We don't know how to do it. Well, it seems that, as they say in Yiddish, the eggs are smarter than the chickens. This is what is happening. But that is not something new. I have read already writings from the Greeks at the time of Socrates where they said the young people don't respect their elders. It's not like it used to be. It's not nothing new. This has happened throughout the generations. You don't get respect as you wish you could. These are the times, and you have to adjust yourself to the times. But I think there's something that maybe we do not appreciate sufficiently. You tell your son, listen, you have to do your homework. You tell your son, this girl is not necessarily for you. You tell your son, don't smoke pot. Certain things, he's not listening to you. What does this old man know? He doesn't know. But don't think so. Your words aren't just air. They just don't disappear. Even though that the reaction that you obtain is maybe one of rejection at the moment, you have left a message that will be remembered. I think this is what Joseph is telling us, He was already separated for years from his father. But at certain moments, he remembered what his father's reaction would be. Not any teachings, but the whole life, the whole environment that he had at home was contrary to what he was about to do. So don't complain so much about the fact that your children don't listen to you, and therefore, what's the use? What am I going to say? He's not listening anyway. You're making a mistake. He is listening. Maybe he's not reacting at the moment, but you're leaving an imprint. Make sure that your child, that your friend knows exactly